Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 22nd day of November 2024, and welcome to our show. First hour, we have citizen journalists with Christina, Holbrook, Melissa Fryzel, and Chris Deal. We don't know if Melissa's going to show up on time or if she's going to be distracted because she just became a grandma and she's got the night shift. So we all know how that's going. And then Skip Banach is on at 10 o'clock, and he's going to be discussing the police shooting of their son. And this is like I said the other day, we're going to do some very difficult topics and things that really need to be discussed on here. And I just want to, let's see, bring you on. How you doing, Christina?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this morning, Donna?
Good, very good. And I think we should mention that today is the anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination. And so may he rest in peace, and his family, for his entire family. I'm sure that this is still to this day, a difficult day. And all of his family, I have a huge spot in my heart for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did not know that. I was, of course, not born when that happened. But I have looked into that incident significantly. And being that I wasn't around during that time, I think I'm a little more biased than maybe some of the people that, knew and loved him. And I really think that we as the American people need to press on Donald Trump to declassify
I do
all of the
too.
CIA documents.
Every single thing, because we need to know what's going on so we can go after those bastards that have done the crimes. And I don't know if you've seen any of the research that I've done on this, but being somebody who is by nature a researcher, there's some things that I found out in especially Grand Rapids, Michigan, because I think that we need to realize that these people are all connected. They're all connected in some way or another. And if you've ever followed or looked at the Q posts and such, which I have, and there's a difference between, because I look at everything and I talk to everyone, and I don't give a rip what anybody's opinion is on who I talk to, because I think that the people that are being attacked the most have probably got the most truth behind them, right? So it would take me a minute to bring these pictures up, and I wasn't planning on doing this morning, but in the Q post there were two lanterns that were sitting in the window of a church. And all of a sudden, one day, it kind of came around, and I figured out the significance of some of this, which was really, really very interesting. The Kennedy Library every year gives away lanterns. It's in fact, it's here. Let me see if I can bring something. It's an honor that they give people, so they say. What I kind of figured out was that these lanterns are actually something that's pointing to the people that were involved or that are part of the organization that was behind, in my opinion, taking out President Kennedy. And so, like, when I see all of the assassinations and things that have happened to the Kennedy family and such, and the strange things around that are surrounding the deaths of the Kennedys and such, it is, there's more to the story. There's always more to the story. Let me see if I can bring up the Kennedy lanterns a minute. I've got a whole bunch of photos on this, and you can look at pictures, the Profiles and Courage Award, and you can see this, but what I can tell you is that, here we go. I think this is a significant thing. And I guess I should have prepared for this, but I didn't. Just like normal, I get on, I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to tell you right now that award, it's not what you think it is. It is, in fact, a slap in the face for anyone who has gotten that award, guaranteed. You know how President Trump points to people and he's not telling you who the good people are? Well, remember, his best friend was John Jr. Okay? President Trump's best friend was John Jr., who I question everything surrounding his death. Also, there's a lot of things that just don't make sense, at all. So let me see if I can
He
go.
died in a plane crash. Is that correct?
He died in a plane crash. His dog was not in the plane with him. He had a broken foot with a cast on. And you know what? I can tell you right now that the type of plane he was flying, there ain't no way he was flying that with a cast on his foot. Okay.
I remember this when I was a kid when that plane supposedly
Yeah.
went down. Is
So
that Caroline? Is that the lady?
yeah, Caroline was, was his wife. But
Okay.
I want you to look at the people that are getting awards here. And what for me really comes up to this is we've got these morons here defending democracy. But I want you to see if we can focus in on this picture a minute. Right there is one of the criminals in the state of Michigan, Jocelyn Benson, our Secretary of State, received the award. They're pointing to who is not a good guy. These are not good guys they're pointing to. This should be a slap right across their face. And I think that, Caroline knows exactly what's going on there. Because especially if you look at this picture, she's got the smirk of a lifetime on her face. And not only does she have that, we've got a Zelensky, a Cheney, a Jocelyn Benson. We can look at all of these people, and I'm pretty extra sure that watching the strategy that President Trump has in his appointments, he's pointing out not the people to follow necessarily, but the ones we need to be looking into. And it's the same thing here. So we got Liz Cheney there, and if you zoom in on this, I don't know if I can zoom in on this, but if you could zoom in on this picture, Caroline's got the biggest smirk on her face that you could possibly see. There's Pelosi, Obama. You want to know who the casting and characters are? Look at this Lantern Award right there. They're telling you who the people are that are attached to the assassinations in the Kennedy family. I will guarantee you that. That is my opinion. It is something that I had a nudge by someone, but kind of figured it out. And when I see the connection to the DeVosses in Grand Rapids, Amway, the DeVosses, the secretary that Betsy DeVos, who resigned January 7 after the basically the coup and the Fedsurrection to deprive President Trump of his rightful office, and the connections there, and the Ford Library in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That is not a Ford Library. That's the Kissinger Library. And I've documented all of that with photos. And President Ford was not happy in any of those photos. He looks like a whipped dog, and he's like sitting down, like told to shut up and sit down. And the one in charge is always, look at the pictures, it's always Kissinger's. He is always pointing, giving instructions. And I think that this is something that's notable to all of us. We've got to look behind what they're showing us and figure out what are they really saying. And when I look at this Lantern strategy, it's the exact same strategy that President Trump uses in his endorsements. And quite honestly, he does a mix of them in his cabinet pick. Not every cabinet pick he's had has been outstanding. I am calling out Tom Homan as the greatest cabinet pick he could have ever made in the history of the United States of America. Everybody else, I'm kind of watching. And that's the truth. There's a picture, I think Pam Bondi is a good choice. There's a picture that floated at the top of her standing with Kissinger. So I want to look into that and see, because I don't take anything at face value, not even from President Trump, because President Trump is not playing ball the way that most people does. He's way too smart for that. And the people that are standing with him, and I know some of these people, are way, way, way too smart for that. They are not going to play the game and say, oh, yes, everybody, this is exactly what we're doing. Don't you feel great about that? As they watch the bad guys come and slice them across the back. Are you kidding me? They're way too smart for that. So, yeah, that Lantern Award, there's a lot of research I've done on that. I've published stuff on this, and it's something for people to look into. Actually, when the stuff on Amway started being published, they changed the exterior of their global headquarters. And allegedly, Betsy DeVos basically admitted to some nefarious activities against Donna Brandenburg. So, which makes me feel good as being over the target, not one of them, because they're the ones that there's 22 oligarch families in the state of Michigan that are buying our elections. When they came out with Tudor Dixon, a absolutely disgrace to humanity. She came out at RDV, which is Richard DeVos building, and Oprah was there at the Econ Club. Now, all you got to do is start connecting the dots, people, and not take things for what they are. You've got to start thinking about things in a more of a dimensional, not a straightforward, but dimensional, using critical thinking, and that's where you'll find the answers. So I think that's pretty interesting. The Lantern Award.
I didn't know that. That is pretty interesting. I do agree that Donald Trump thinks and moves a lot differently than other people.
He's smart.
How do you feel about Matt Gaetz turning down the nomination for Attorney General?
It's strategy, because
so?
I think there's some strategy there, because he never took any AIPAC money. And so when you look at the things that the last time I saw him was at one of the Grinnell events that I went to, because I was kind of going to all of the Grinnell events before the everyone that I could go to before the election, just to be supportive, to make sure that we stood united behind President Trump and such. And I like Rick. Rick's a hometown boy here, and such. And so I really like Rick Grinnell a lot. He's a super nice guy, and all the people in Log Cabin that stand with him are just really, really very, very nice people. And I love them to pieces. A shout out to all of my buddies out there. I love you to pieces, and I'm just so proud to know all of you. And in that organization, they actually stand up and do stuff, where you watch a lot of people that they want to say they're patriots, but they don't do anything, and so like, they don't work for what they say they do. And they don't work at all, And so I don't know, it's crazy. But at any rate, the last one I went to, the last one of the Grinnell events I went to, Matt Gaetz was there, and I went and talked to him for a few minutes. And I've seen him there. I've seen him at Mar-a-Lago, and got to talk to him at a Steve Bannon event a little bit. And so I've been able to talk to him. I've got his contact. I mean, I could contact him, probably get him on BNN actually, and ask him if he wants to be on BNN. But you look at the allegations. You look at the allegations that Leb said. The Matt Gaetz we see today is not the same one we used to see, and most people don't know that the DeVos and Van Andels stated when they started their business, their goal was to go global. There's another thing about the DeVosses too, is that people think that the story is, we started this in our garage in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Pretty extra sure you haven't looked into this a little bit further. I think we should be looking in the Caribbean, with the island that they own down there, pretty close to Epstein Island and such. When we look at families and what's going on, there's different cells to every organization or every group of people. And I actually do think that there are people that have been removed that we think are in place, but they're not there anymore. And when you start doing facial comparisons, I know that there's a lot of doubles. They use a lot of doubles for President Trump. And I'm glad for that. I'm really, really glad for that they're keeping our guy safe. I really am thankful. It would be stupid to put him out somewhere where he was a target and everybody knows his schedule, because a sniper could take him out miles away. Agreed. And so they're not stupid. They're not going to do that. Okay. And so when we see the doubles or something, we can be glad. They used them for Bush. They've used them for every president that's been out there. And we've got to expect that sort of thing, because that's what they do. Now, for Matt Gaetz, they use doubles for Melania too. Yeah, I've got a great picture of one of the doubles that I snapped, because I do facial comparisons. I've done a lot of them over the years. And I have a lot of questions on a lot of the people that are out there. They're absolutely not who you think they are. And the ones that you're looking at, most of the time it's CGI or they've got a double in there anymore. So we really don't know. David Niggermeyer says, I knew immediately that Gates was going to go for Rubio's seat. I think that is probably the case because the Senate was always the goal. So if he appointed Rubio, who I'm not a fan of, and then, it's like, and then Gates gets appointed and he steps down and then he goes for Rubio's seat, which is vacated. Now we got a strategy. And so like nothing is as simple as what most people in the political realm think it is. They want to simplify things. And it's like, these people that are planning this stuff are so smart. They aren't like the local political, I don't know, idiots that are out there. If you saw what happened in Macomb County yesterday, Macomb County, and I have talked about this with my buddies there on the local level of what's going on in Kent County in Michigan and the county Republican Party. It is a disgrace to our nation. And Mark Fortin basically was overthrown last night by Stan Grott. And he came in with 40 some odd people, started appointing people right there and calling to the front of the room, and the yelling and the screaming that happens and the hitting. At the last GOP for Kent County, somebody laid their hands on Stephanie Boone when she was recording this. They were calling names and all that sort of thing. It's like, you know what? I would be ashamed to be involved in this and in any regard. I would be ashamed of that. But if I were in there, I'm going to tell you what, shit would get real quick, and that behavior would be improving because it's a disgrace to the state. The reason why we're losing in the state of Michigan, I mean, Kent County went blue. Are you kidding me? Kent County went blue, and it's like in Macomb County and Oakland County, Kent County, they're going to make or break the elections here. That's just the way it is. And so guess what? We have got a person in charge now who basically has got a history of such questionable behavior. I just look into it and tell me what you see when you look into this. It'll jump right off the page at you, and I'm not gonna lay it out, make it easy for anybody. You need to look into this and then decide whether you really want to participate with this or not, because the elections are going to go to those people that are willing to the highest bidder. It's exactly what they're going to do. Stan Grott appointed his wife to be the clerk at one point in time, and so he was in a race. And his wife was going to be the one in charge of counting the votes. How the hell does that happen? So this is politics in the state of Michigan. There is absolutely no control of our elections. And if you look at this picture right here, and you want to know why, there's an organization behind it that is running the show, and all you got to do is start looking at stuff like this. And guess who got a Kennedy a lantern? That would be Jocelyn Benson, the criminal who absolutely tanked the elections and has run a rigged election. And I hope she comes after me, because we have enough evidence. We've got enough evidence on what happened wrong here that I would absolutely love to go into some sort of discovery. It'd be amazing. And so, but at any rate, you've got her standing right next to Cheney, and that lantern. She's not the only one. And so let's check out. Let's go into this again. Look at the award and courage, and the first one on the list is Zelensky and Cheney. Are you kidding me? That's all you got to know.
Yep, that sums it up for me.
And it's not via Obama here. You've got all of these people. Mitt Romney, the traitor who is involved in Burisma oil in Ukraine. Why?
The traitor squad.
It's the traitor squad. All of them. It's the traitor squad. Check this out. It's crazy. Look at the list on the left there.
Wow.
Look at the list. And it's like just check the list out. Yeah, there's our President Ford here. I think President Ford was threatened and coerced because his vice president was a Rockefeller. And you start looking into this sort of thing, then just like with President Trump, I think they forced him to take Pence.
I think so too, because that didn't make any sense to me.
And then when Betsy DeVos steps down, what happens with Pence? He gets a huge payoff, about $22 million. And this sort of thing, watching this and absolutely watching this and getting smarter than what the news media wants to give us, like about a content that a 3-year-old, that a third grader can process. Is that what we come down to? Is that we only have the mental capacity for what a third grader has? It's like, I'm sorry, it's time to become an adult and look at this stuff for what it is. And sorry, I'm not going to apologize for pissing people off or hurting their feelings. We're losing our country right now for this kind of nonsense that happened in Macomb County last night and what happened last week in Kent County. I got to tell you that there were about 120 people or so that walked out of that meeting because they tried to slam people in. They didn't even have a chairman that was appointed for the convention. I mean, everything was out of order, and they can't even run a freaking county convention. That's like and keep it between on the rules. How can we possibly trust these people to be running our state and making policies if they can't do it on a county level? How the hell are they going to do it on a state level or national level to stay within the boundaries and within the law? They're going to do it. We're just putting criminals in position because we refuse to fight it on the local level.
So I missed the part. What did you say about Zelensky in this? What is he a part of?
Well, I kind of got this thing figured out. I had a nudge from a friend, and I went down there to the Ford Museum on a little recon and started really
like that.
I was doing a little recon. I like to do a little bit of recon on the ground.
Sneaking around.
Yeah, I like sneaking around. It's like Mission Impossible. Do.
We're good at that.
Yeah, and then so like I'm taking all kinds of pictures, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this isn't a Ford museum. This is a Kissinger museum, and it was a nod by the globalists. And so we have 22 oligarch families. Some people say 40, but it's 22 is the hardcore in Michigan that are literally buying and paying for our elections, and what they do. So the Ford Museum is sitting right on DeVos property, and I went in there and I started showing pictures from inside. In fact, I might actually be able to pull some of these up. Let me see here a minute. It's hard for me to do it when I'm managing this, but we will see. Let's see. This channel, we want to look for Ford Museum. And here we go. Ta-da! We'll see if I've got some more stuff here. And we'll just like rip through this a minute. Kind of interesting, but when you really start looking at what's behind the scenes, let's see which pictures I get to here. This is going to be a little bit of a goat rodeo because I don't have the time to look them up on here. Let's go back.
Not a goat rodeo.
Yeah, it's a goat rodeo. Let's see. Let me see. Got to go back farther. Sorry for wasting your time, guys, but I'll get it figured out here in a minute. But you can talk.
While you're figuring that out, I want to let everyone know about a very important upcoming interview. On December, let me check to make sure I get this schedule right before I go running my mouth.
17.
On December,
17th.
Is it the 17th? Let me just confirm. I believe so. Yeah,
My
on
favorite
December
number.
17th, we will have General Flynn on at 10 a.m. So mark your calendars, and if you don't already watch Miss Donna every day, like the loyal people that you are, then you definitely need to be here on December 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are working on JFK as well. JFK. All right.
Brandenburg News Network is going to become a continuing pain in the ass to the deep state, and I am making it my life goal to do said activity, right? So here I've got this up here so we can see exactly what the lantern connection is, because I actually have a picture of his lantern. And so this is interesting. So I'm very good friends with someone who grew up with President Ford, and he said, I remember when he went bad. He said he was a really good man, and I think that he was probably, I think he got into it, and then he probably got threatened like a lot of people do. But check this out: 1962, coronated, 33rd degree Scottish Rite. And here's a picture. And if you start looking at the pictures of, that's Nelson Rockefeller, this is President Ford, and this is Kissinger. Kissinger in every single picture in that museum is giving orders. And they're sitting there listening to him. He's either talking or he's pointing or he's giving orders. That museum is a Kissinger museum. That is not the Ford Museum. And I will not bend on that assessment of it. So now we go through here, and here's Ford's cabinet. And look he's got his hand over his mouth. He's kind of sitting there pondering. And if you look at all the other pictures here, this guy's right up there, Henry Kissinger, giving the orders. He's always pointing and giving directions in every single picture. And they're telling you. These people will tell you what they're doing. All you got to do is pay attention and get into the higher levels of chess playing and strategy. So see, he's just giving the old orders there. And President Ford had a remarkably cohesive, competent group. The overall tone of the Ford cabinet reflected the moderate conservatism of Ford's own Grand Rapids, Michigan background, with more than a tinge of the progressivism embodied in the term Rockefeller Republicanism.
Yeah, there's Rockefeller. I mean,
it's all there, but there's more to this. And I'll see if I can find more to it too, because there's much more to this. I've got more pictures than that, lots more. There's a whole wall. Let me see if I can find some more pictures of the wall. Let's see.
It's like an actual wall.
Yeah, there's a one wall in there that's pretty damning. And
like the one they made on that Pennsylvania site where supposedly an airplane went down, a wall like that.
Let me see. I've got it right here. So let me see. This is another example of Kissinger giving the shots. And then I've actually got a picture of the lantern to their horror. I figured it out. Screw you people. And look it's like he's always on the phone. He's always taking orders. His mouth is always shut. His is always open. He's always giving orders in the picture. Big nod to Kissinger. And let's see if I can see if there's oh yeah, there you go. Gonna run through my channel here a minute, see if I can find more, because I really want to show you the lantern. I got to remember when I did this, because there's lots and lots of pictures here that I took, and I published them all. All I had to do is look around a little bit. Let's see if I got the lantern.
We're bound, determined to make sure that we know the truth. And it benefits our future generations to realistically know what our government has done. And that is put the American people's safety aside time and time again for their own greed and profit and destruction.
Yeah, and this kind of stuff is not okay. And this is, so here's in the museum, there's the Ford lantern, and I did pictures here of, let me go through this. Okay, I'll just go through this this is a thread I did. So there's the Q post, April 18, 2020, of the lanterns in the window. And there was a lot of speculation, but people were looking, I think, in the wrong direction. Look into the lanterns, and oh my goodness, there we go. And look at the smirk on Caroline's face. Hilarious.
They think it's great.
I actually wrote this as a murder mystery, so I've got a whole bunch of posts in a row. Look at, she's just smirking. It is awesome. She's having a great time. Look at their smirking. And these retards, look at them. You know, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And
Okay, so lanterns
here we
are
go. And
more. Okay, so
there,
I looked up something. It says lanterns are more than just a tool for lighting. They symbolize illumination in a broader sense.
you bet. And so check this out. So here's the White House correspondence gift lamp to President Kennedy in the Oval Office. Yeah, but what they used it, the Kennedys after his death used it for a different purpose. And here you go. There's the lantern, and there's President Ford's lantern. You can see my reflection in the thing there. Isn't that funny? I actually took the picture. So see, there I am taking the picture in the reflection. People never believe that I'm actually doing this stuff, but I actually do it.
This is in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I'll take you to the museum sometime. They know I'm all over it right now, so we'll see. So there's Gerald Ford, and there's President Kennedy, and may he rest in peace, President Kennedy. On this day,
Yeah, because if he had stayed alive, we would be in a much different place right now.
Yep. So, when confronted with the issues needed to be addressed, Robert F. Kennedy was fond of saying, "Hang a lantern on your problem," which I thought when I found that quote and I put that together, they're literally hanging a lantern on their problem.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
That is, I would see that. I love it because that I would have never looked at that lantern and it would have just been a lantern to me.
Mm-hmm. So here's the wall that I was talking about, and you'll watch. He's always got his head down, or he's not happy. He looks like he's in submission. And this guy, Kissinger, the globalist piece of crap that started the CCP, is given orders. He was the order giver. And it's like, let's see, I've got a bunch more pictures of it, to their horror. And the great thing is because I publish in millions of different directions, not millions, but a lot. Good luck finding it all, guys.
Keep digging.
Good
Keep
luck.
digging.
Yeah, it's like I told him, I said, don't piss me off because you're going to have 100,000 little Donna Brandenburgs. And oh my goodness, we've got channels on tour now, and we know how to set them up.
Yeah, we're going everywhere.
They poke me again because I'm not interested in large amounts of followers. I don't want large amount of followers. I want small amounts of followers in just a bazillion different places.
Right.
Right.
There's a way to do it.
There's the strategy. So then you watch all these people that are out for money. First question they ask you is, how many followers do they have and how much money have they raised? I got asked that so many times when I was running for governor, it would make you want to puke. But it's one of those things. I can hang a lantern on them,
Yeah.
And
lantern your ass.
Yeah, we're gonna lantern them. Yep, that was the first question that Steve Bannon asked.
So I want to talk to you guys. So yesterday,
and I've met him. I know him.
Steve Bannon.
Yeah,
I haven't yet to meet him yet. No, he's been in jail. Or was in jail. But yesterday,
I hope he's reforming. I hope he's reformed and found a better way. But after that question, I was like, I had a response from our favorite general, People's General, which I will laugh about my entire life because I told him what he said, and it was hilarious.
Did you see yesterday where CBS released a report that said that ambulances had left Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago with Secret Service? Well, what it did was it kicked off this fury. This was at the same time that Matt Gaetz it just came out that Matt Gaetz had stepped down. They released and said that there were ambulances leaving and that there was, Secret Service. So obviously I did a video about it that went super viral. Come to find out, this was some liberal bullshit. And they just created a whole freaking uprising, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's going on with Donald Trump?" And it was Vance's motorcade leaving. Now, I looked at about 30 videos of motorcades, and very few of them had ambulances in them. So I got to think about what people were saying about, Matt Gaetz stepping down and about this being used to, figure out who all the rhinos was, and that, they used him because they were going to attack anybody that President Trump is putting in front of them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
used him to take all the attacks, and then he stepped down and they put in Pam Bodie, which I think is a great pick for Attorney General. But it was not shocking. I was not dumbfounded by the fact that they released this. Something happened at Mar-a-Lago while all this shit with Matt Gaetz was going on. And that video went super viral. I think I've got like 400 views on that video. And what I said in the video, because, I get breaking news, that's what I do. I said, let's not speculate. Because it just felt like garbage to me.
Well,
So
what it felt to me was a distraction. And so I have a somebody that works in military intelligence that I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, it's fake.
But my question is, so I watched a bunch of videos on a bunch of motorcade. It was really boring. I only seen ambulances in a few of those videos. So I'm thinking that the whole ambulance thing and it leaving Mar-a-Lago the way that it did was another plan of theirs. Like, I am not as smart as Donald Trump, but that man thinks months ahead of some of these people, and that is clear. So it just really pointed out the level of propaganda that these people are willing to go to, like John Cooper telling Democrats to illegally release the ethics report on Matt Gaetz. Well, let me see. They denied the release of it because it violates their policy and their tradition. And if you know anything about that case, you know that no one stepped up to say, I'm the person that he supposedly did this to. And there was a blackmail against his family for $25 million. But there was a 3-year Department of Justice investigation into this man. Okay. And they found that those claims were not true. But it's like the left will not accept that. And when you think about the way information is sourced through regions, we've had this conversation before. Melissa doesn't get the same news that I get. And if you don't have people in different parts of the United States, you are blind to what is going on in other parts. So it really took me down to like the core level of being a viewer that watches shows like and TikTok and Facebook and all of that stuff. How even on the right, they believe some of these things because they would much rather believe it to be true than to look into it themselves. And so I'm just really going to gear up on making sure the people understand that you cannot, and I even have lessons in this all the time as a content creator and an investigative journalist. You cannot take anything you hear for face value anymore. We are not in that part of our world anymore. So when you hear something, you need to immediately employ some critical thinking skills and think of the likelihood of that being true, because everything in our media is propagandized to some point. Even your local news, there's always, and it always involves money, there's always a narrative. So your news is not going to tell you the truth if the truth ain't going to make them no money. So I would just really press on you people. Stop taking this shit for face value because it's making you look dumb, first of all. And we need to come together with some intelligence if we want to save this country. And I'm talking to both sides, on the left and the right. I am shocked at the messages I get as a content creator that some of these people believe this shit and will take it to the grave, like they're willing to die on that hill, that shit is the truth. And it comes out, time always tells, it comes out a month, a year later that, oh, this wasn't true. And you got us over here telling you guys, like, no fucking shit, it wasn't true. But you guys won't stop and research for a half of a second so that you can increase your intelligence. And then they spread that shit to their friends and family like it's wildfire.
Well, it's programming. I mean, it's like there's so much programming, and it's like if you hear things enough times, the average person will believe it. And it's like, you know what? We have got so many decades of programming. Everybody better stay full freaking stop when you hear something. I had something that was thrown out to me the other day, and it was like, oh my gosh, everybody was losing their mind out of the Loy Brunson case and this, that, and the other thing. And I mean, it was like absolutely crazy. I know Loy. Okay, I know Loy Brunson. I sent him a text. I'm like, what's happening? He goes, well, I haven't signed an NDA, but he said, I don't know what's happened at the Supreme Court. He goes, I'm in Texas. And because I asked him if he was there, I would think if they were going to hand down a decision, Loy would be in Washington, D.C.
Right.
He's in Texas, and all of the internet, all social media is like losing their mind over this. And then people are so convinced that this is happening. And you know what? Then I get mad because I know I'm being sold something that is misleading. And I'm like, I get to the point where I'm like, we'll see how it works out. And then if it presses on, I'm like, get out of my face. You know, if you got something, you got some receipts, you got some papers on something, that's fine. But just because a million people on social media have jumped on it like a bunch of dang turkeys. You know what this is? I got to bring up a video on this. This is great. Have you ever seen how domestic turkeys function?
No, I don't know nothing about domestic turkeys, Donna.
My uncle had a turkey farm when I was a kid. Okay, so we'd go out. We would go out to the turkey farm, and he grew cantaloupes. So he grew melons and turkeys, right? So you'd go out there, and us kids being kids, you know, which we were, we'd go out there and we'd get the turkeys all hyped up. And let me see, I'm looking for the motorcade. I've got a motorcade.
Okay, so that reminds me of that question while you're looking for that. Is that common for ambulances to be in motorcades? Because I've watched tons of videos and only seen a handful of ambulances.
They do have an order. It's always a specific order, though. And so
Notice that.
They have an order. They've got it all secured. I mean, if they think this is like a city or a county or a 4th of July parade or a Christmas parade, you're sadly mistaken. These things are so planned out. You know, people are looking at, well, I had a parade in my area and this is how it worked. It's like, this is something whole nother level, people, whole nother level. And probably 85% of the people will never get a grasp on it because they won't take the time to look into it. Okay. We're waiting for Santa Claus to come down with a reindeer. Hey,
throw some candy.
It's like throwing candy and shit from the president and that sort of thing. No, it doesn't work that way. Let me find a turkey video.
How's that baby, Melissa?
Hold on.
You're on mute.
She's good. I was up on the 3 a.m. watch and just got off duty about 45 minutes ago and had to make my daughter breakfast. So
congratulations, by the way.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to be like a co-grandparent because you know my kids won't give me any freaking grandchildren. I really drilled that get an education into their head a little bit too much. I didn't know that they were going to go to college for 8 to 10 years. Jesus.
Oh, that's fine. I gotta find a domestic one because I don't know if there's a domestic turkeys.
Is that what the people are acting like now, Donna?
Yeah, they're like a bunch of turkeys. Because when we were kids, you go to the field, and us kids would of course get them going. You just make a sound, and the whole flock would start hearing it go across the field. You'd have like thousands of turkeys that they're all just because all you had to do is go boo, and the whole field would just light up, and it start near you, and they'd pass this on to the rest of them. It's like, and the whole field would go absolutely berserk. Absolutely.
Yeah, that is a good
Thousands
representation.
of them. Thousands of turkeys going berserk. I'm going to find a video what this looks like.
I love that.
It ripples through a field. Funniest thing you will ever see in your life. When you're about 8 years old, this is enough to honestly make you pee your pants. You're laughing so hard, it's hilarious. I'm not kidding you. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious.
I'm 43, but don't get me laughing too hard because, you know, once you get up there in age, your bladder stops cooperating.
So here we go. Let's see. I'm going to bring this up because this is funny. You know what? We've talked about goats on Brandenburg News Network. We've talked about everything. So guess what? Now we're going to talk about making turkeys gobble when you're a kid. Doesn't always have to be serious. Let's see what happens. This could be fun. I've never looked at this. I'm hoping they've got the turkeys actually. No,
I
that's
don't
not,
think that's the video you're looking for, Miss Donna.
that's not the video I'm looking for. I'm gonna have to find one.
But that's
And
still
then,
funny.
yeah, I'll have to find one, and we'll just bring it up here. But in the meantime, I'm looking for the presidential motorcade here. All right, I'll do advanced planning and show you exactly what happens in a domestic flock of turkeys. It's insane. It's like the guineas. You know, we have guineas, and the guineas do the same thing. That's why the military uses them for watchdogs. They're like watchbirds. They're security. They make so much noise. It's crazy. So
I'm looking at now. You got me looking for domestic turkey videos.
yeah, it's crazy. Here, I'm gonna see if this is. I'll see if this is it. Hang on a minute.
We talk about some of the greatest shit.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you know, I think this is the strength of BNN is the fact that you know, we're kind of normal people talking about normal things in an unnormal way. You know, nothing is scripted out. People ask me that all the time. They're like, you know, well, or people will tell me that they are asked, what does she allow you to talk about? And they're like, we don't even talk before we get online. It's like,
Yeah,
no.
we don't communicate. This just happens. This is
Right.
authentic.
So
And it goes in a million directions. It's like, Jesus, take the wheel. What do you want us to talk about today? It's going to be great.
So I can let y'all know, I'll give you an update on the Texas land grab up in Marvin Nichols.
Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, so we had the meeting with Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller and several locals, myself, Joshua James jumped on there briefly because his mother's impacted in all of this. And so basically there have not been permits filed yet, but everybody has that intuitive, you know, radar going on that they're starting to, right? And so this group up there, this Marvin Nichols Reservoir has been in planning, I guess, about 25 years. And what it is this is a reservoir up in northeast Texas, and they're saying it's to supply water to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, you know, to us that doesn't make sense, and these people have been fighting it for a while because
Wait, hold on. Don't you guys have the ocean?
No, this is North Texas.
Oh, okay.
It's a big
This is up
state.
near, this is up near Oklahoma. And so this reservoir, they're saying that it's in the water planning, you know, the water plans to divert water to North Texas, which one of the points we brought up in this meeting is, you know, why are they trying to take the land and the water 150 miles away when they've made no progress on any type of, you know, reclaiming stormwater? You know, there's nothing else going on. There's other ways for them to get the water. And so I brought up how we'd all been working all these different disasters in New Mexico, the Panhandle, and let them know. I said, you know, one time it's a chance, second time, you know, third time, you know, that pattern's there. It's, you know, hey, we're on to something. And, you know, so I let them know that, you know, we'd been working on all of these different disasters, work on overlays, doing citizen research and stuff. And what we're finding is there's a pattern in all of these areas that are being hit with these disasters that they contain one of the minerals or, you know, one of the resources needed for the clean energy agenda, including this area, which I was surprised that the locals up there fighting this had no clue. Part of the counties involved in this have lithium. So this is in the Smackover Formation where we're all seeing lately that they found the lithium up near Arkansas. So there's two counties in Texas that are a part of that and have lithium. And so what I see, and like I told them, is that this reservoir, them saying that Dallas-Fort Worth needs water, is just a diversion for them to get in there, take over, and start mining the lithium. I mean, we're talking graveyards are going to end up being underwater, just all sorts of, you know, family land that it's land that's been in the families for 150 years.
All sorts of fuckery, huh? It's crazy when you think of the lengths that they will go to and the planning that they have put into place. And
But this is the way it's always been. It's always been about the natural resources and moving people around to grab them. You know, that's the when I went out to Utah. I was out in Utah earlier this year, and we were just riding around and seeing all of the manufacturers that are no drone areas. When you go up to Promontory and see where the Transcontinental Railroad comes together, which we did, and then get a grasp on the millions and millions of bison that were slaughtered just to get rid of them under the lie of keeping that railroad safe. It was a lie. You're talking at most, I mean, if you want to be a right of way, they could have done a 30-foot right of way through millions and acres there, and they killed all the bison in the West to keep that safe. That doesn't even make any sense. It makes no sense. It was about killing the food supply for the Native American population to exterminate them by controlling the food. That's exactly what
which
they're doing right
do
now.
to us, by the way.
What's
they're
that?
Gonna do that to us too.
No, they're not. They're going to try, but we're going to put a boot right up their rear end because it's like, at this point in time, there's too many of us that know what they're doing, and they think they're going to get away with this. They kicked a monster that is going to not only just be no, but oh hell no, we know your playbook now. They did it with the Bolsheviks, did it with going after the farmers. They were doing it in the Netherlands just recently, same group of people. And by the way, think about this, Dutch, as I was talking about it before, the Dutch banking families, and I'm partially Dutch, so I can say whatever I want about this without any politically correct social justice warrior nonsense. Oh no, she said something about the Dutch. Well, suck it up, buttercups.
Well, I'm not Dutch, and I'm still going to say anything I want to.
Well, and that's good. That's good. I love that.
Right. See, so I sorry I had to jump. My daughter needed me, but on back on the Marvin Nichols. So basically, we're waiting for them to start the permit process to claim the eminent domain, and so we have two options right now. If they start the eminent domain process, what we're understanding is that we would have to file litigation, get that in and prove that because Texas state law shows you could take land for public use under eminent domain as long as the land is not being taken to foster economic growth. Well, I've already found 5 pages of articles from Exxon, Albemarle Corporation, all sorts of other companies that have stated economic growth and economic benefit from this project. So, if they file the eminent domain, then we basically have everybody. I have all the documentation where they can file litigation, but since that hasn't happened, we're going to have to take this to the legislature. And, the legislature is going to have the power to take this off the plans. And so we're working on that right now. So I'll be working with everybody up in North Texas on that, and told them, I'm happy to go be their gopher in Austin to get that appointment and get them in the door, just like I did initially. But this is hopefully Texas is going to take a stand on all this and be an example to the rest of the country on what's occurring. So we plan on getting that appointment in and by December 1st, because we have to have all legislative proposals in by December 5th and hopefully get this in. We were pointed in the right direction of which senators to go to that are actually working on Texas water plans.
Well, I want to follow up with something, Melissa, that you said.
Skip is backstage. Hi, Skip. We're going to talk for a few minutes. I'll bring you in just a minute, okay?
I don't know if some people, when you say things like, they're using these direct energy weapons and these other resources that they have to take out these specific areas so that they can get access. If you use South or North Carolina, I mean, that's a prime example. That was clear weather modification. We've seen that. But
Ben
now
Vernon Canal is another one, and so is where the wildfires were in California. It matched up with Pelosi's high-speed rail.
So when we take all these situations in consideration, they are knowingly and willingly killing American people to profit off of that. And Sean Starry is the guy that I did the Panhandle investigation. Melissa was there as well. He'll be on the show on the 26th at 10 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Tuesday at 10.
Tuesday, 26 at 10. And you guys should really listen to some of the things that we found that proves they're killing people to take these lands for profit. It's not, it's profit to them. It's not, oh, we need to get water to Dallas. There are other ways besides taking land that has been in people's in their families for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So we have to stop thinking that our government is doing anything for good for us, because they are killing your brothers and sisters and not even batting a fucking eye when they do it. You are collateral damage. And until that happens to you, you won't really have an understanding of how devastating that is. North Carolina, those people can't even afford to rebuild.
Well, and
Right.
what really needs to happen is people need to get in there with a Chevron decision, that reversal that came through, and tell them. So actually, we lost everything we had in Florida, and I sent something down there about the FEMA overreach and the person who was kind of running it in the city, and all of a sudden the city backed off. I sent them all the case law and such, and I'm like, tell them to get the hell out. They don't have the right to condemn anything or to take any land, and you just tell them to get the hell out. And all of a sudden, it got real quiet down there.
Well,
So speaking of North Carolina, so we saw with the resources up there, we heard Albemarle Corporation, we heard
right.
Piedmont. Well, guess when I looked into the investors into the Smackover formation, guess which names popped up?
BlackRock.
Albemarle and Piedmont for Texas.
Oh, for Texas?
Oh, same ones as the reservoir.
Oh, we got a link.
Yep. So I put that all in my summary. I'll send my summary to you guys that I've updated, but I linked all that into the investors. And so last I heard yesterday was the individuals on the call I was on. They're like, oh my gosh, Melissa, you're doing a wonderful job. We have sent this to all the county judges up in the area, and they are getting on top of this now.
It's like, oh dear God, please get this in front of RFK Jr. and Pam Bondi. That would be like, this is like a perfect thing to jump on. I want to show you this before we bring Skip on, because let's talk about this again Monday, because you guys are on with me Monday. I wanted to show this because we started talking about it a little bit. I'm going to interrupt it once in a while because I'll get a YouTube strike if I don't, but here.
Other is a logistical nightmare that happens every single day. The American president is one of the most powerful persons in the world, and there is no time when the president is more exposed than when
this guy's a little bit left-leaning, but he's got good information.
Assassinations of American presidents were when they were traveling, Garfield and Kennedy. For that reason, the Secret Service devotes an enormous amount of resources to ensuring the president gets from one place to another safely. The presidential motorcade is perhaps the most impressive method of transportation. It includes up to 40 or 50 vehicles and over 100 people. Let's take a look at some footage of a motorcade. This is the lead car.
So we're going to talk over this just a minute so we don't get a strike.
Its job is to lead the motorcade.
But this will tell you
exactly the ambulances.
This will tell you the order. Just watch.
Car, which would have come through about 5 minutes before the lead car. The route car is always followed by about 20 or 30 motorcycles, which play essential role of clearing the route of cars.
This will answer all your questions.
When driving on a highway, they'll speed ahead and close exits so that no cars can come on the highway, although they have to use a different technique in cities. When driving in DC, where other drivers are used to frequent motorcades, the motorcycles often drive in a V pattern, pushing cars to the side to clear the way for the motorcade. This leads to a disruption of only about 2 or 3 minutes. Outside of DC, drivers are less used to motorcades, so the motorcycles will typically
This is a really great channel to this guy is incredible in his analysis of how things work.
Block off the intersecting streets to create one continuous clear path for the president. The entire first section of the motorcade isn't actually run by the Secret Service. It's run by the local police jurisdiction of wherever the president is. The fewer Secret Service cars and individuals needed for motorcades, the better, since both the cars and agents need to travel to wherever the president is visiting in advance, which is, of course, incredibly expensive. The next part of the motorcade is what's known as the secure package. It's the essential core to the motorcade because it's the group of cars that directly secures the president. In case of attack, this group of cars can detach from the rest of the motorcade and function as an independent unit. The most important car in the secure package is the president's limo, but one can never be sure which one that is because there are always 2 limos.
Yep,
These
gotta
2
protect
limos
the
are
president.
identical. They even
You
have
know?
the same license plate. That way, an attacker
Wow.
for
Yeah,
example,
this is
a
so
spotter tell
planned
them which car
out,
the
and the
president
amount of
left their
money
horse
that
in.
goes in, it's
The
like
limos
$2,200
themselves
a
are no
minute.
ordinary limos.
And this
They
is an
weigh
old
between
video, as you can
15,000
see, with
and
Obama
20,000
on there, the
pounds, and
Kenyan.
are built on a modified truck bed. The entire car is bulletproof, including
I
5-inch
still don't
thick.
see the ambulances.
The only window that can
Yeah.
open is the
Let
driver's
me
window,
like
reportedly so
go
they can
ahead here, and then I'll put the
remote activated explosives along the route. These two tall antennas do that by sending out a huge range of radio frequencies that would block any bomb activation signal. The
Wow.
two domes on top of the
$2,600 a
car
minute.
are most likely what's known as electronic
I
warfare
think they actually went past the where they keep the
is the
president's
United
blood.
States Secret Service Electronic Countermeasures Suburban. It leaves the secure package because
Yeah, well,
its purpose
I'm going
is
to go
to
ahead and
jam
stop
any
this so we don't
remote
get
activated explosive.
our YouTube strikes here, because we will. But at any rate, it's Wendover Productions. He does a great job on this.
Say
And
it again, Lendo.
Wendover. I'll put it in the, I'll put it in the
Wendover
private chat for
Productions.
you. But I find that I watch a lot of like engineering or people that do engineering type. Like I like watching why things fail. Okay, this is Donna Brandenburg, the nerd. I watch engineering fails that are actual engineers that on people who are investigators and stuff. And I think that Wendover does a really good job with their thing. Half as interesting is another one of his channels, and he does a really good job at here. Let me go ahead and show you the list of channel type things that he
3 months
does.
ago, we released HAI's Crime Spree as a Nebula original. It was something experimental and risky.
So this is his channels, and I think that he does a really good job on just all sorts of things. Wonderful guy. And then does a good job, and Half as Interesting is another channel that he does as a person who's an engineer. He does a real good job of analyzing things, and I appreciate his like bridge fails and why bridges fail, or how a highway washed out, or just all sorts of things that somebody who's kind of technically nerdy would enjoy, and but he makes it easy for anybody to understand. So anyhow, Skip's backstage here. You guys have anything else you want to talk about, or are we going to go ahead and move on to our days?
Let's get Skip on. I have an appointment.
All right. Love you guys a lot. I'm going to go to a real quick break here, and we'll be on with Skip, and we're going to be talking about some very difficult issues. But you know what, guys? It's what we do here, and I think that we need to face the problems that our country is facing on an individual basis. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Love ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 22nd day of November 2024, and welcome to our show. Next, I'm going to be welcoming on Skip Banach, and he's going to be discussing the police shooting of their son, Jeremy. Jeremy's father, a retired police officer himself, emphasizes the necessity of unbiased oversight in law enforcement investigations. His firsthand experience stresses the importance of impartial scrutiny in such cases, emphasizing the need for oversight that is free from undue influence or bias. He advocates for a fair and thorough examination in law enforcement actions, ensuring all aspects of critical incidents are rigorously evaluated and uphold justice and restore public trust. And welcome to the show this morning, Skip. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Hey, thank you, Donna. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. And thank you so much for coming on here. And, as a law enforcement professional who really knows the processes and such, and explaining what happened so that other people can see that the importance, first of all, of law enforcement, but correct law enforcement and lawful law enforcement. So what would you like to talk about today?
Well, there's a couple of things. My son was killed by a deputy, Ada County deputy, and he was high and he was carrying a weapon, but he placed the gun against his own temple. In 1.6 seconds, this deputy who was behind him shot him in the back 5 times. That made no sense to me. I'm a big city cop. I'm a city of San Diego police officer, retired. And if I would have done that in my department, I would have been arrested that day. That's not illegal killing. The investigation was flawed. And then the prosecutor refused to let an outside, I asked the AG's office to investigate it. They told us per Idaho law, the prosecutor has to ask them to do that. So I went to the prosecutor to ask her that. And when I was there, somebody went back and said, hey, this guy wants to talk to you. They come back and say, she's not going to meet with you. And if you don't leave, you're going to be arrested. And if you come back, you'll be arrested. Now, this is an elected position, the head prosecutor for Ada County, telling a citizen that. What is wrong with that? And
I tell you what's wrong with it. They don't get to decide what they prosecute. That's not their job. Because they're supposed to bring things forward for prosecution, and they're not supposed to be saying, well, I'll prosecute you and you and you, but the rest of you don't matter.
Yeah, that was really crazy. So we have a lawsuit going. Some of the things we're going to try to do besides the lawsuit is we're trying to get some legislation passed here in Idaho that would force prosecutors send it to the AG's office if one of the family members asked in a police shooting to have an outside investigation done. Right now, that doesn't happen. And of course, they use that to cover up their complicity in what they did wrong and what occurred. Like in our case, the investigation goes, and then they send it to a prosecutor in another county, theoretically far enough so they don't know about the case. They don't know anybody in the case. They're not involved in the case. Well, what Donna did was she sent it to another prosecutor up in the McCall area, which is, several hours from here. But it turns out, after I did some investigation, that he worked as a Ada County prosecutor for her for 15 years. And he knew all the deputies that were in it. And I'm telling you right now, I know she helped him get that position up there because he worked for her. So how is that unbiased? How is that fair? How is that not just rubber stamped because his former boss sent it?
Yeah, he should just send it to a friend to cover their tracks.
Right.
What's her name? Donna what? What's her name? What's the prosecutor's name?
Jan Bennett.
Oh, Jan Bennett. Who's Donna? You had mentioned Donna. Oh, maybe you're just talking to me. So Jan Bennett?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Jan Bennett. Well, let's throw it out there because that's not okay.
Right.
Wow.
So that's one piece of legislation we're trying to do. We're trying to get another piece of legislation that is going to clarify the immunity for police officers. And I agree, police officers have some kind of immunity, but immunity does not say you have carte blanche to fire that gun and kill somebody, and you're not going to be prosecuted. That's not what that is for. So.
Well, yeah. looking through the process, it sounds like all of them should be removed. If you're going to not do you're not going to do an investigation, even to refuse to agree to an investigation on this, and then sending it to a friend, that sounds like, I hate to say it, but it sounds kind of like organized crime nonsense going on up there.
Well, stand by. I learned just yesterday that there's an investigation occurring within Ada County and in the state of Idaho by outside groups that are not mentioned right now, but stand by because these people don't know, but it's coming. They are being looked at really hard.
Well, what's really great is that we can step over the top of them and request jury trials I mean, there are other ways of dealing with this other than giving them, the power of judge, jury, and executioner with no question. The whole Justice Department is a wreck. It's a train wreck right now, and I'm looking forward to hopefully President Trump getting a handle on this very soon, and calling everybody out of the pool here, because we've got a problem.
Yeah, I believe. The third thing that my wife and I are trying to do, and we've talked to a lot of people, and we have some people agree, some people don't, and police officer on the fence because they know this will impact that. We're trying to set up a civilian review board here.
Oh, I like that. What does that look like?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different ways. They're all over the country. Even the city of San Diego has one. So it just kind of depends. The one that I'm trying to work on is one that would have like 5 people on the panel. They'll all be law enforcement. 4 of them would be law enforcement, but never working in this state, so that, they don't have any connections to the law enforcement here. And then the 5th person would be a mental health person. And we would not have the ability to subpoena and to investigate and to have access to all the investigations, the pictures, the videos, all the evidence, and then be able to make a recommendation, which would be, I don't know how it would be received with some of the law enforcement, but they would have to seriously consider what's going on and whether there's validity in the investigation that the Civilian Review Board does. There's a lot of people that are against that. When I was a police officer, we had it. A lot of times they found the shootings justified or the actions by the police officer justified. When they didn't, then other people had to come in and do another investigation and find out if there was, any criminal charges or negligence or just untraining. There's a lot of things that can come out of that civilians rule board that aren't bad. Most of them are good.
Well, and I think that the third party investigation is absolutely critical to anything. Our elections need that, and for sure, because what say like Dominion did in Michigan is they pulled the electronic machines here is for their investigation. What they did is they pulled an entity which amounts to a department within the company rather than a third party. And that's how it's working inside of law enforcement and the injustice department too, is they pull a subset of their own departments. So there's no actual investigation going on there.
So in our lawsuit, they have filed to just a motion to dismiss it. They also filed a motion not to give us the evidence yet, and so we won't be back into court until sometime in January. Hopefully, then the case can just start moving. And people have asked me, why are you suing? It has nothing to do with money. Money is not going to bring my son back. I mean, that's a picture of my son right behind me. We're doing this so Jeremy can have some justice, but also a bigger concern is that this doesn't happen to another family and they have to go through what we went through. It is unbelievably hard. It's unbelievably difficult for me and my wife and my other children every day when we think about Jeremy being killed like that. And
I'm so sorry. I bet he, families, we know our children and such, and we know the bright spots and also the difficulties, because people are imperfect and such. How did he get into substance abuse? Do you mind talking about that? I'd like to hear some great things about him. And then also, we've got such a horrific problem with substance abuse in this nation. And unfortunately, our country, our deep state is funding the trafficking of human beings and drugs. I mean, they created this problem.
They did. We're not really sure how he got started, but I'm sure he got started with entry drugs like doing marijuana, drinking, and just kept moving through it to when he's been through like 4 or 5 detox and rehab situations and be good for a little bit. And just one day he was sitting with his mom and he just, Mom, I don't want to do this, but you don't understand how it makes me feel, and I have to feel that way. And so he ended up using fentanyl and meth, and so that was the terrible thing about it. And tried everything we could to help him. And he was a great athlete. He was really funny. He has a little boy named Jameson. And hey, buddy, my German Shepherd wants to get in.
Well, that's okay. Pets are the greatest, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. He loves us unconditionals, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
He had a great sense of humor. He was a great athlete. He did all kinds of stuff.
Very handsome young man.
He's quite handsome. All the ladies really loved him.
I'll bet.
His little boy looks just like him when he was his age. It's really
Aw.
funny. We see pictures of him. And he was a great guy. He had a great sense of humor. I mean, we have some great pictures. Like one Halloween, his little boy was kind of freaking out about Halloween and stuff. And so he put on a bunny costume, a full bunny costume with the ears and everything. And, to be with his boy and get him relaxed and stuff. So he was just that kind of guy. And he loved me. He loved me so much. I miss him so much. It's very difficult. I just know. But luckily, we're Christians, and he had accepted the Lord. So I know where he's at, and I'll get to see him someday. But right now, that doesn't take away the pain and the sorrow and the anger and all the things go with it now. But
you're taking it and you're turning it into purpose, and and doing something about it. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing that you're doing it to save other people from the horrible situation that you guys have had. It's just that's such a wonderful thing to take something that's tragic and turn it into something good.
Well, at least we're trying. I'm a precinct committeeman here in Ada County in Idaho. And at our last meeting, I was allowed to give a speech just about this. And
Really?
about 3 people who were involved that I think are culpable in the killing of my son. Rod Beck, Jan Bennett, and the sheriff, Matt Clifford. I think he's culpable because of his lack of leadership, unwilling to get his deputies trained up so that they're better at what they do, and the culture that he's created within the Ada County Sheriff's Department. And then Jan Bennett, what she did to block the AG from taking a look at it. Why is she so afraid? Mike Moyle, the Speaker of the House here in Idaho, asked her to send it to the AG's office, and she still refused. That is unconscionable to me, that someone in that position to ask her and for her to say no. What is she hiding?
Yeah, that's always what I want to know too, is when somebody's not doing their job and they're protecting everyone around them instead of doing everything possible to find what actually happened. You gotta wonder what they're covering up.
Right. So that's where we're at right now. We're moving forward. We're trying to do other things. We're like I'm involved with, as a precinct committeeman with the Ada County Republican Party. And so we're doing what we can in those. And we're starting to get more and more and more help. Interestingly enough, we sent Jan Bennett a petition with over 700 names asking her to send this to the Attorney General's office. Like I said, Mike Moyle, the Speaker of the House, asked her. She received dozens of emails and phone calls. Still, she said no. What she
gave you no. Well, it's not their job to tell citizens no. That's what they don't have that figured out yet. Clearly, their job is to do what we ask them to do. They don't get to sit up there like a tyrannical king or queen. It's here to serve, and service doesn't mean protecting your department or your own behind if somebody did something wrong.
What she doesn't understand is she's elected by the people, that she works for the people, and her responsibility is to the citizen. For her to tell a citizen that he can't be in her office, and if he doesn't leave, he'll be arrested. And for her surrogate tell me, and if you come back, you'll be arrested. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you should probably call her out and sue her personally. Did you know you can sue people, public officials, personally? You can sue them personally when they step outside of their obligations to their oath of office. And the fact that she denied you even access to talk to her for whatever reason, I think you should look into suing her personally. You could do like a jury proprio type of a case, which is a pro se case. I know a lot of people that are winning on those, and I could probably give you some names of people close to you that could probably give you some information on it. But I've got John Tater on Tuesdays, and he's fighting everybody pro se. It's really funny, and he wins, which is kind of interesting. But there are cases all over the United States. Leah Hoops is doing it, and there's some people in New Hampshire. There's Troy Smocks down in Texas who got arrested for J6. There's a lot of people who are going to this method, and it is actually something that we can do as citizens of the United States while our rights are being completely disregarded. They know it too. They know that there's a problem when people actually step out of their civil action jurisdiction and go into the republic form of government, and it works.
Well, thank you very much. I'll have to look into that because I didn't know that. And she's mentioned in our lawsuit against the county and the city and against the sheriff's department. But
doing it jury proprio too is not real expensive. You just have to be able to talk and write things out, and then you go and you represent yourself in a case like this. You can do it through notices too, where you give them notices and they have to respond. And if they don't respond after the third notice, they've agreed to your terms and conditions, and you just take it in front of a magistrate. And so there's a lot of different ways to address people who are doing the wrong thing in government, and denying you the ability to have things looked at or not bringing it up to the attorney general is absolutely outside of her. She doesn't have the granted powers to do that.
Well, thank you. Now I'll have to look into it. And just one more thing to do. Our plate's getting full with what we're doing, but we're not letting this go. People said just let it go. No, I will take this to my grave before I let it go.
Well, it's shooting somebody in the back. I can't even imagine that why they would have shot him in the back 5 times
with an AR-15, a rifle from 8 to 10 feet.
Well, and here's a question. I think that I read in some of the stuff because I looked up some articles on the situation before you got on and such, and I think you had said something that you had said that they failed to detain him earlier in the morning and caused a more tenuous situation. And so they could have, we had a school shooting here in Michigan about a year or so ago. And there was a failure of detaining somebody who was in a troubled situation then, and they could have stopped it, but they didn't. Nobody stepped up to stop it. And so, that's really, really unfortunate. And also our state of mental health in this mental health or drug rehab or anything like that in a situation they created is absolutely abysmal. And you want to know something? This is just Donna's observations. Okay. The people that I've known that have either committed suicide or that have gotten into drug use and such, I think that there's some of the most gentle-hearted, tender people on the planet that just couldn't cope with the lack of love and the spiritual bankruptcy on this planet. And I really do believe that they're so despairing that they have to kind of numb the pain. There's no safe space for them anymore. And that's unfortunate. It's poor coping mechanisms, and then just the overwhelming amount of bad news and the things that are going on and the despair that goes with it. I mean, honestly, I'm a Christian too. I think that's what Satan wants us to feel. And so the way they cope and their gentleness and their good-heartedness is they do something, whatever they can, just to cope with the craziness around them.
Yeah. To follow up on what you just said, it's probably why I feel so guilty about it. I'm the one who called the deputies to come to our house because my son was over here and he was high and he knows he can't be when he's high. I asked him to leave and he said, I'm not leaving. I said, I'm called deputies. They'll make you leave. And so went in the backyard. He was sleeping under a little lean-to I have with a tarp. And so I was, okay. So the deputies get here and they tell me he's high. He's high. I said, okay.
And you're like, duh.
Really?
Yeah. So glad your assessment was so quick and accurate.
Yeah. So they end up talking to me and say, hey, he's willing to leave. And then they let him go. And I look out the front window of my house because they said, go back in the house. You need to be in the house. We're going to let him walk away. He's walking away, and I look out the window, and there's two deputies aiming AR-15s at his back as he's walking away. So I pop out of the house. I go, why are you pointing guns at my son? They said, well, because he has a gun. Really? We're in Idaho. Everybody has a gun. And then so they calmed the situation down. And then I found out from my attorney, and it's law here in Idaho, it is illegal to be in possession of any weapon, let alone a gun, and to be under the influence of anything, alcohol or drugs. So when they let him walk away, they were negligent in doing their job here. And that's part of the lawsuit too. Flat out, had they done their job here, he would not be dead because he wouldn't have been in a situation where they find him later and trying to get the gun away from him.
Yeah, they could have asked him to hand it over, and and I'm pretty extra sure that when you have a couple of ARs pointed at you, it's going to escalate the situation substantially, no matter who you are.
Yes.
And no matter whether you're under the influence or not, I'm pretty extra sure that everyone is going to have a bad reaction to that. And I'm so sorry that you have to see that sort of thing. How are you doing personally right now? And I mean, I know you said that you're feeling a lot of guilt over this situation, but it sounded to me like, you called for help and they let you down.
Yeah, they did. They could have handled this situation much better. Had they done their job here at the house, it would have never got to where they felt like they had to shoot him. Secondly, they shot him in the back. There was nobody in front of him. There was nobody being threatened by his gun. He was high, so he's not thinking well. They even say that. And then to shoot him in the back 5 times with an AR-15, what chance did he have? And this deputy was only 8 to 10 feet behind him.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So as far as my wife and I, you know what? We pray a lot, cry a lot. We go to a lot of meetings and stuff, and we're trying to help other people.
When did this happen?
June 15th, 2022.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. We're just hoping more families don't have to go through this, but there is such a bad culture within law enforcement here in the Treasure Valley. And I mean, the city of San Diego, where I was a police officer, the population is twice this entire population of the state of Idaho. And there's more shootings here than there has been in the city of San Diego.
Really?
San Diego abuts the city of Tijuana. So the cartels and the drug gangs are going back and forth and everything. And there's less shootings in the city of San Diego than there have been here in the state of Idaho. It's disproportional. And
do you know why? Is it the culture? Is the law enforcement culture there? Is that what it is?
Culture and the law enforcement. And several things I learned from people who grew up here, went to school here, high school and stuff. They said, we knew this from when we were in high school. You mess with law enforcement, they're going to shoot you. Shoot first and ask questions later. That's part of the culture. The second part of the culture is, and I've been told this by several other people, is if you take them out, you don't have to deal with them later. That's just flat out wrong.
Well, it sounds like our buddy Jan there refusing to pass that on to the AG is a cancer in the area. Yes. It just sounds like it. So, well, wow, Donna, I'm so sorry.
I sure appreciate you being able to talk to you and maybe get this out. Other people be safer.
Well, let's say a prayer here. Let's say a prayer for you and Gina and what's Skip's son's name?
Jeremy's son,
I
Jameson,
mean, Skip, Jeremy's son's name. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jeremy's son's name. What's his son's
my
name?
grandson, Jameson.
Jameson. Oh, that's a nice name.
It is.
So I bet he's just a light in your life.
He's really a cool little guy. He looks just like my son did at his age. And so we have pictures of him, and it's almost impossible to tell them apart, except for you can tell by the age of the pictures and stuff. So, yeah.
That's so precious. Well, do you mind if I say a prayer? I'm going to say a prayer for you. Is there anything else you want to talk about this, or that is there any way that people can help you?
Well, we have a nonprofit that's
Okay.
we're trying to help people get drug rehab, maybe get detox, and get them information.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's called A Cry for Help.
Okay, let me look it up a minute. And let's see if I can find it. There's a movie by that name. What's the actual .com for it, or .org?
You know what? My wife takes care of that. I just have the card that I give her. Gina, see if she can tell me. But I know it's A Cry for Help. For Cry for Help, she's trying to look it up on the.
Yeah, let's see if we can figure Idaho Dispatch.
Okay, www.linktree.
Oh, here we go. I've got it. Here we go. Hi, Gina. I can hear your voice.
Hi.
All right, here we go. A Cry for Help and film.proton. Here we go. Here, I've got your link tree up. This is let me put this up so people can see this a minute, and hopefully go see that. So A Cry for Help on Linktree, and we've got a Q&A panel, download, a documentary. Oh, you got a documentary on it?
Yes, we have several interviews. We had a panel with law enforcement officers discussing the case and what was wrong and what could have been done better, and asking people to help. As a matter of fact, a guy named Doug Trouble, who just ran for sheriff here, he didn't make it because he had to run in as a constitutional party. And if people in Idaho vote for an R, even if the person's not really qualified or shouldn't have been there.
I agree.
So people just don't do the due diligence and understand the situation. So there's quite a few things on there. So
let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and play this a minute.
Parents of a man shot and killed by a police officer a year and a half ago are calling for change.
I've had people ask me, why did you call the deputy Skip? I did not call them to kill my son. I called them so we could get help for him. He was high. He's had a problem with drugs. That's why we called him.
What do you got going on? What kind of hard times are you dealing with? Help me understand this a little bit.
I took him to Western State Hospital one time. I called the cops and said, I'm going to kill myself. And I had a knife. So when they got there, I had the knife and I was pointing it, and they came in and they shot me with taser guns. And they didn't take me to jail. They put me in Tacoma Western State Hospital, a mental ward where I belonged, because I was not in my mind's thinking. They went back there and they said, you can leave. You can leave, Jeremy. You can go. And he walked right out the back gate.
Just don't reach for your gun. You're good, man. You can go.
influence, and he said he was under the influence, that he had used fentanyl. He was in possession of a knife. They could have stopped the whole position right there and gone ahead and arrested him for his confession of being under the influence of a narcotic drug.
They've got a section that says that if you're in the state of Idaho and you have a weapon, and I'm trying to find a section here, you have a weapon and you're under the influence, that you're not allowed to have the weapon. You're in violation of Idaho law.
A deputy's perception, as the video tells us, the video produced by the sheriff's office tells us, if their perception is that Jeremy is disoriented and intoxicated. Now you marry that observation with the statement of Jeremy that he has a gun, you marry those together, that is a violation of this code, Idaho Code 183302B. If I suspect that a person is intoxicated or on the influence of drugs or alcohol, and they have a concealed weapon on their person, there's an arrest that can be made there. So, and it's by the penal code saying, I shall. I don't get to make the laws. I order the police officers that are working in this area, they're there to enforce them.
Horrific for our family to be going through that hole. My son will never be filled. And there's nothing, no amount of money that's ever going to bring him back. A lawsuit, you get money out of that, but money isn't what we're looking for. We don't want this to happen to another family, to another father, son, daughter. And we'd like your support.
Do something properly, and you're a police officer, you're in law enforcement, and you're charged with doing the ethical thing, period. When they're caught, to tell us, hey, I should have done that, and then you make your amends, however that is.
Well, that's very well done. Your wife is just a beautiful person, and I'm so sorry for both of you for what you've gone through. What a terrible thing.
It's tough on her. She cries almost every day, but she's getting better and she's more active and trying in the things that we're doing, and so she's focused. She's stronger than I am, actually. So
how could she not cry every day? You know, I mean, that's a sane person's reaction when you love someone. Yeah. Well, let's do this. I'd love to say a prayer for you and Gina, your family, and for Jameson and everyone involved in this, if you'd like.
Love it, Donna. Thank you.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for walking with us when we have to face horrible things in this life. And we know that you are with us, and sometimes we don't know why things are, but we do know that you never leave us nor forsake us. And I ask for your favor to rest absolutely strongly, the peace that passes understanding, strongly on Skip, Gina, Jameson, and everyone that's associated with this tragedy that happened. We pray for the officers and for Jan, the prosecutor. You told us to pray for our enemies or people who have done wrong, and I ask that you would reach out and touch them and talk to them and turn them around so that we can see justice served here. And more than that, thank you for the blessings that you gave everyone in the situation, Jeremy, in their lives. He sounds like a very wonderful person, and we're thankful for that gift. It was too short of a time, but we're still thankful for that gift and the times that they had together and the lessons that they taught each other and the goodness of his heart that will live on long, long, long after he has been gone. And we know that he's with you, and we ask you to wrap your arms around him when we can't, and that you would keep him safe for Gina and Skip and Jameson until they meet again. We know that he's with you in glory, and it's a beautiful thing. And we know that you are keeping him safe and that he's okay now, healed in your arms in ways that sometimes we can never do here on earth. And that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for him. And that we ask that today that he would know how much he's loved and missed by everyone here, and that coming together in glory is going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much, and bring people alongside of Skip and Gina and Jameson today that would help them in any way that they need help with, the getting the word out, being there for support, and that in a very tangible way that you would talk to each of them, surround them with your presence, and let them know that you care and that you're there every minute. You'll never leave them nor forsake them, nor will you ever leave or forsake Jeremy. Thank you for this time together. We love you so very much. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Donna. As you were praying, it came to mind, Gina found his testimony when he was in, I think he was just started high school. So it had his youth pastor's name and when he accepted the Lord. So that was a blessing to have it.
That is just so amazing. It just shows that God is with us and walking us through these things and gives us things even if they're gone after they're gone to let us know that he's here, and it sucks, but he's healed. One of my best friends' son, 26 years old, was killed by fentanyl, and it was an intentional murder, though no one was ever prosecuted by this. And he found a book that Josh was working through, a purpose-driven life. And he had been writing and writing and writing. And so his dad found that book after Josh passed. And he did the same thing that you did. He was mad. Oh, he was so mad. You don't take out the son of an Army Ranger who's got a perfect record for shooting at 1,000 feet. He's got a perfect record, right? And it was a pretty tense situation there for a while. But he found that book that Josh wrote, and the piece that he had was just incredible. I'd say it's not 1,000 feet. He can shoot at 1,000 yards, and he's got a perfect shooting record. And you don't mess with somebody like that, and somebody stupidly did. But he's taken that on and uses it for, talking to other people who've been in bad situations, just like you're doing, and turning it for good. And I just really have a lot of love for your family and what you're doing. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Inspiring.
Yeah. With Thanksgiving coming up, and we always sit around the table and say what we're thankful for. And I was thinking about that, and I'm thankful that I had him for 39 years. Wish it would have been a lot more, but you know what? We had 39 wonderful years together. He loved me so much. I just miss him so much. And we were really good friends and did things together all the time. We'd go fishing and hunting and other things. And we'll see each other again, I know, when the Lord calls us home.
That's a beautiful testimony. And what a blessing you are. So thank you for being on today. Is there any other encouragement that you would like to give anybody else out there who's struggling with drugs or anything else like that?
I've said this to some friends of mine. Do not neglect to tell people you know and love that you love them. Encourage them. Do what you can to get them off drugs. Help them every which way you can, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. and they might not be here, and you might not get to tell them you love them. You might not get them. I didn't get to hug my son goodbye that day when he walked away. That was the last time I saw him walking away. So don't forget to do that. Just reach out to the people you love and make sure they know you love them, and let them know you're thinking about them. And even if it's just a phone call somewhere across the country or across the world, because you don't get a second chance sometimes. And that's sad when that happens. You don't get that second chance. Because Jeremy, growing up, even in high school, we'd be in the cafe and with a bunch of my friends, and he'd come in with a bunch of his friends, and they'd all wave to their dad and say hi. Jeremy would come over and give me a hug and a kiss. He did that no matter what. And my friends would go, my son won't do that. I go, my son does it all the time. So it was a good memory.
It sounds like a great memory. Well, everybody's got homework for today then, is to go and tell somebody that you love them, because you never know how people are hurting or what they're struggling with.
You don't.
That's.
Make sure you do that.
Well,
like I said, you never know when you're going to have another chance.
Well, anytime you need to get on and have a little media, give me a call, and whether it's on the ground or you're going to something, if you want to do a live broadcast on something to hold people accountable, this is a great way to do it. You turn the cameras on them, and they can't get bad behavior. So
we'll be back in touch with you.
That sounds great. Well, everybody, that's that part of the show. This is a wild time to. It's one of those things that there's so much feeling involved in this that I think that this is a great way to end the show. It really is. Let everybody know that you love them and that you're in the game for them. And I'm going to do my quick spiel that I always do. Please go to brandenburgforgovernor.com, because I'm the best not conceded that ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want to talk to the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, in cowboy boots someday. But before that time, tell everyone you know that you love them. People are so lost right now, and their reactions are not good, and they're not doing the right things, and they're under stress to the levels that we've maybe never seen before. Take some time to get yourself right with God and talk to him and help him to walk you through these situations that you're having when you're stressed. He's always there. He'll never leave nor forsake you. And he has the answers, and he will walk with you. He loves you. He's looking to he's looking to be a father to you. And a father isn't just the hand of punishment. It's a father that absolutely loves you. So never forget that. So with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. And if you don't have a good example, be one. That's what we're called to do. So stay on the line, Skip, and I'm going to end this, and then we'll talk for a few minutes. I love you all the ones that are out there that are watching and that have been watching. There's a lot of repeat people that are watching. I love you, and we're gonna walk through this together, no matter what comes our way, with God walking us through by his strength, by his power, and his might.